Washington President Trump on Monday accused Democrats who did not clap during his State of the Union address of being un-American and even treasonous. His remarks came in a rambling, discursive speech at a factory in Ohio, during which he celebrated his revival of the American economy as the stock market plummeted by more than 1,000 points. "Can we call that treason?" Mr. Trump said of the stone-faced reaction of Democrats to his speech. "Why not? I mean, they certainly didn't seem to love our country very much." Mr. Trump was speaking during a visit to a company near Cincinnati that makes pneumatic and hydraulic cylinders. The company, Schaeffer Corporation, awarded each of its 126 employees a one-time bonus of $1,000 after the passage of the tax cut, and the White House clearly hoped to use it to drive home the message of economic health in last week's State of the Union speech. "Your paychecks are going way up," a beaming president said to this more friendly audience. "Your taxes are going way down." But as Mr. Trump spoke, TV networks broadcast a jarring split screen. While the president boasted of companies bringing billions of dollars back to America, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was shedding billions more. At one point, the rout became so drastic that CNN and MSNBC switched from the speech to report exclusively on the market gyrations. Unlike most of his predecessors, who have generally avoided talking about the ups and downs of the stock market, Mr. Trump has repeatedly taken credit for the rise in stock prices. He often mentions the bull market in settings that have nothing to do with the economy. But on Monday, he made no mention of it, preferring to focus on other economic indicators, like the unemployment rate and economic growth. As Mr. Trump patted himself on the back for the tax cut, he went after the Democrats for opposing the $1.5 trillion legislation. He delivered a lengthy digression on the State of the Union address, noting that Democrats sat on their hands as he ticked off one measure of success for the country after another. "It got to a point where I really didn't even want to look up too much during the speech over to that side because honestly, it was bad energy," Mr. Trump said. "Even on positive news, really positive news like that, they were like death and un-American," he said, repeating, "un-American." Somebody said treasonous. I mean, yeah, I guess, why not? Mr. Trump was clearly also honing his message for the political campaigns to come before the midterm elections in November. He acknowledged that the president's party normally suffers setbacks, in part because its voters become complacent. But he insisted that Republicans could ride the strong economy to victory this fall, saying Democratic leaders like Senator Chuck Schumer of New York and Representative Nancy Pelosi of California were out of touch with ordinary people. "They want to raise your taxes," he said. "They don't want to give the money to the military, which we have to because our military, because of Obama and even beyond Obama, it's depleted, it's in bad shape." Noting Ms. Pelosi's recent assertion that middle-class people would receive only crumbs from the tax cut, Mr. Trump said, "This is not a good day for Nancy Pelosi. She's our secret weapon." He added, "I just hope they don't change her. There are a lot of people that want to run her out. She's really out there." Ms. Pelosi fired back quickly, saying through her spokesman, Drew Hamill, as the Dow nosedives on his watch, the president's rambling, deceitful tax scam sales pitch reached an all-time low in Cincinnati. Though Mr. Trump was on an official presidential trip, his visit was replete with political overtones. In addition to Ohio's Republican Senator, Rob Portman, the president brought along James B. Renaxai, an Ohio congressman who is challenging the state's Democratic Senator, Sherrod Brown, this year. With the encouragement of the White House, we want to get Jim in it, and a lot of other people in, Mr. Trump said. But we have to be tremendous. Gov. John Kasich of Ohio, who challenged Mr. Trump in the 2016 Republican primary race and has remained a vociferous critic, did not meet him. In a more sedate event nearby, Melania Trump, the First Lady, played board games with children at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. Mrs. Trump, who accompanied her husband to Ohio after spending much of January relatively out of sight, received a briefing on neonatal abstinence syndrome from physicians, who explained the effects the disease has on infants born with opioid dependency. When Mrs. Trump visited an infant recovery center last fall in Huntington, West Virginia, she said she hoped to give a voice to those suffering from addiction. But while her husband reveled in the back and forth with his audience, Mrs. Trump kept her time in front of cameras limited to a few minutes, directing her attention to the children who had been gathered to greet her. She played the game Sorry, and handed out Valentines, with her signature on the inside.